There are moments in life that arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary days, until suddenly you realize they carried enough force to alter the direction of your entire future. Monday, May 11th is one of those moments, and if you have been feeling restless lately, if your sleep has become strangely vivid, if certain thoughts keep repeating inside your mind like echoes you cannot shut off, then you are already standing at the edge of what this cosmic alignment is about to awaken inside you. This is not a simple astrological shift passing through the sky like countless others before it. What unfolds on this day carries the kind of energetic intensity that only appears when multiple celestial forces lock together with surgical precision. Most people will move through it unconsciously. They will notice sudden emotional waves, strange intuition, powerful dreams, or the unsettling feeling that something invisible is changing around them. Yet they will dismiss every sign, because their minds have been trained to doubt what their souls immediately recognize. But you are different. Part of you already senses that something larger has been approaching for weeks. Maybe you have caught yourself knowing who was about to call before your phone even lights up. Maybe you have walked into rooms and instantly absorbed emotions nobody admitted they were carrying. Maybe there have been moments where reality itself felt thinner, almost transparent, as if another layer of existence was pressing against the surface of your everyday life, trying to get your attention. None of that is random, and the reason it is accelerating now is because Monday, May 11th, brings together three massive astrological movements that activate the deepest psychic layers of your consciousness all at once. The Moon enters Pisces at 1:40 in the afternoon, opening emotional and spiritual channels that usually remain buried beneath distraction and logic. Pisces is not just another zodiac sign. Pisces is the ending point of the entire astrological wheel, the place where boundaries dissolve and intuition becomes louder than rational thought. When the moon moves through this water sign, people become more sensitive to invisible currents. But for those already spiritually aware, the experience becomes almost overwhelming because the separation between inner knowing and external reality begins collapsing in real time. Earlier that same morning, Jupiter forms a tense and highly significant angle to the North Node, the point connected to destiny, soul evolution, and the direction your life is meant to move toward. This is not soft energy. This is pressure. This is the kind of cosmic force that makes comfort impossible because your spirit can no longer tolerate staying trapped inside outdated patterns. You may suddenly feel called to make decisions you have avoided for months. You may notice a growing dissatisfaction with routines, relationships, or environments that once felt safe. That discomfort is not punishment. It is your soul recognizing that the timeline you are settling for is no longer large enough to contain who you are becoming. Then, as the day reaches its final energetic peak, the Sun in Taurus forms a perfect 60-degree connection with Jupiter in Cancer. This is the bridge between vision and manifestation. Taurus grounds energy into physical form, while Jupiter magnifies whatever it touches. Cancer brings emotional truth into the equation, turning desires that once lived only in fantasy into something that suddenly feels possible to hold in your hands. This is why the energy of May 11th cannot be treated casually. The moon opens the psychic doorway. Jupiter forces you toward destiny. The sun creates the conditions for manifestation. Together, these transits create what can only be described as a spiritual initiation point, and once this activation begins, it does not disappear overnight. It starts a chain reaction that continues unfolding over the next 3 weeks, pushing hidden desires, suppressed intuition, and long-delayed opportunities toward physical reality before the month ends. That is why paying attention right now matters more than you realize. Some manifestation windows open briefly and fade. This one changes the architecture of your perception itself. What makes this even more intense is the effect the Pisces moon has on the human mind and nervous system. Most people think intuition is subtle, but under this transit, intuition becomes impossible to ignore because perception itself begins changing. Logic stops being the only language your consciousness understands. Instead, you begin receiving information emotionally, symbolically, and energetically. You may notice repeating numbers appearing everywhere you look. Songs may suddenly feel like direct messages aimed at your life. Dreams may become disturbingly accurate, carrying details that later unfold in reality exactly as you saw them. You may even feel emotionally flooded by energies that do not belong to you, because Pisces energy dissolves personal boundaries and turns you into a receiver for frequencies most people never notice. This is why so many people feel disoriented during strong Pisces transits. Their minds cannot explain what their spirits are experiencing. But for you, this moment is not meant to confuse you. It is meant to wake you up. The truth is, your sensitivity has been increasing for a reason, and what is happening now is directly connected to a deeper activation inside your consciousness. Pisces and Neptune have long been associated with the pineal gland, often called the third eye, the small but powerful center, linked to intuition, imagination, spiritual awareness, and higher perception. Under ordinary circumstances, most people operate with this ability partially dormant, drowned out by noise, fear, and constant distraction. But this alignment amplifies that inner receiver dramatically. It is as if the universe itself is increasing the volume of signals you were previously unable to hear clearly. Suddenly, the world no longer feels entirely physical. Patterns begin revealing themselves everywhere. Emotional truths become impossible to ignore. You stop feeling disconnected from the flow of life because something inside you finally recognizes that reality has always been speaking to you. And now, for the first time in a very long time, you are finally beginning to listen. What makes this Pisces moon even more intense is that its influence does not stop at emotions or intuition. It reaches directly into the deepest layers of your subconscious and begins altering the way your inner world communicates with your waking reality. During this transit, your sleep cycle becomes unusually active. Dream states grow sharper and more immersive, and the invisible border separating conscious awareness from the collective unconscious starts dissolving almost completely. You may not recognize it immediately because the first signs often arrive in subtle and deeply personal ways. You could walk into a room and instantly feel the emotional residue lingering there without anyone saying a single word. You may suddenly know exactly what someone is struggling with before they ever open their mouth. There may even be moments where you drift mentally for only a few seconds, staring into nothing, only to return with a fully formed realization, an answer, or a vivid understanding that seemed to arrive from somewhere beyond your logical thinking. That is not distraction. That is not your imagination wandering. That is your consciousness becoming receptive to energetic information that most people spend their entire lives unconsciously filtering out. Under the Pisces moon, you are no longer simply observing the emotional atmosphere around you. You are absorbing it directly into your nervous system. Every hidden fear in a conversation, every tension someone is trying to conceal, every silent emotional current moving beneath the surface enters your awareness whether you intend it to or not. This is why the energy can feel overwhelming if you are unprepared. You may mistakenly believe certain sadness, anxiety, or emotional heaviness belongs to you, when in reality you are carrying emotions that originated from the people surrounding you. Pisces energy turns spiritually sensitive people into emotional mirrors. It dissolves separation and makes you feel everything more intensely. But what appears overwhelming at first is actually the beginning of a profound awakening, because this sensitivity is not meant to weaken you. It is meant to sharpen you. The moment you learn how to interpret these energetic signals instead of fearing them, your entire relationship with reality changes. You stop moving through life blindly. You stop relying solely on logic to determine what choices to make. Instead, you begin sensing outcomes before they unfold. You notice subtle shifts others overlook. You trust instincts that arrive before evidence appears, because your body is receiving information faster than your conscious mind can intellectually process it. That is why intuitive practices become dramatically stronger during this period. Tarot readings suddenly feel uncannily accurate. Meditation becomes deeper and more revealing. Pendulums, divination rituals, scrying, and spiritual reflection all begin operating with unusual clarity, because the analytical part of the mind that normally interrupts intuitive flow becomes quieter under the Pisces moon. The ego loosens its grip. The constant need for proof weakens. And in that silence, something ancient inside you finally has room to speak clearly. This is not a temporary emotional wave that disappears after a few days. The activation beginning on May 11th opens an energetic channel that continues flowing throughout the rest of the month, guiding you toward three major manifestations already trying to enter your reality. The first begins the moment your intuitive senses awaken under the Pisces moon. During the 6 days that follow, every sudden insight, every emotional nudge, every dream, and every strange feeling carries purpose. These are not meaningless psychic flashes. They are instructions. They are revealing the exact structure needed to create the stable foundation your spirit has been craving for far too long. This first manifestation is deeply connected to the physical side of life. It touches your home, your financial security, your health, your body, and your ability to feel grounded in the material world. Maybe you have spent months trying to figure out which direction your career is supposed to take. Maybe financial instability has left you emotionally exhausted. Maybe you have longed for a relationship that feels emotionally safe instead of uncertain and fragile. Whatever area of your life has felt unstable, the universe begins showing you how to rebuild it now. Then, on May 16th, the new moon in Taurus arrives and transforms those intuitive messages into something tangible. Taurus energy is practical, rooted, and deeply connected to manifestation in physical reality. This is one of the strongest energies of the month for creating lasting results. But there is an important reason the Pisces moon comes first. The vision must arrive before the structure can be built. The emotional and psychic downloads you receive beginning on May 11th are the seeds, and the Taurus new moon 6 days later becomes the fertile ground where those seeds finally take form. Suddenly, ideas that once felt distant become actionable. The dream that seemed impossible begins feeling reachable. This is the energy of accepting the job opportunity that shifts your financial future. This is the relationship that finally brings emotional stability instead of confusion. This is the decision to commit fully to the business, the home investment, or the healing routine your body has been quietly begging you to prioritize. Taurus does not deal in fantasy, it deals in reality. And that is why this first dream carries so much power, because it is not abstract anymore. It becomes something you can physically hold, build, and protect. But beneath the surface of the new moon on May 16th, another powerful alignment is unfolding that changes everything emotionally. Just hours before the new moon peaks, Mars joins with Chiron in Aries. Mars rules courage, action, and forward movement. Chiron represents deep wounds and the painful insecurities we spend years trying to hide. Aries brings raw honesty and fearless confrontation. When these energies merge together, they create a breakthrough moment around self-worth and personal power. This is where old patterns begin collapsing permanently. Think about how many times fear convinced you to shrink yourself. Think about the opportunities you hesitated to accept because a quiet voice inside whispered that you were not prepared, not talented enough, not deserving enough. Think about how often you sabotaged your own growth simply because success felt unfamiliar and therefore dangerous. That internal war reaches its breaking point here. The Mars and Chiron conjunction in Aries forces you to confront the wound beneath your hesitation. It exposes the belief that you must earn your worthiness before receiving abundance, love, or recognition. And for the first time in a long time, something inside you refuses to believe that lie anymore. This first manifestation becomes possible because you stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop waiting for permission to claim the life your soul has been moving toward all along. And as this new foundation begins forming beneath your feet, another, far more disruptive breakthrough is already approaching, one powerful enough to completely dismantle everything you thought you understood about your future. If the first manifestation reshapes your external world and gives you something stable to stand on, the second arrives to shatter the invisible walls that have controlled your mind for far too long. This is not the kind of transformation that unfolds slowly over months while you barely notice it happening. This is sudden, violent, electric. The kind of realization that hits so fast, it changes the direction of your life before your fear has time to react. By the time May 17th arrives, the energetic momentum that began under the Pisces Moon has already started rewiring the way you think, feel, and interpret reality. But what happens next pushes everything into an entirely different dimension. Mercury, the planet that governs thought patterns, communication awareness, perception, and mental processing enters. Gemini, the sign it naturally rules, and the moment it crosses that threshold, it collides directly with Uranus, the planet of disruption, rebellion, awakening, and radical change. This is not a mild transit. This is not ordinary inspiration. Uranus only entered Gemini in late April, beginning a massive 7-year cycle that will completely reshape the collective relationship with information, truth, learning, technology, and consciousness itself. Humanity is entering a period where the old systems of thinking can no longer survive intact. And when Mercury meets Uranus at the very first degree of Gemini, it acts like the first spark in a storm that has been building pressure for months. Imagine two live electrical currents suddenly touching after existing separately for years. The impact is immediate. Explosive insight floods the nervous system faster than the logical mind can organize it. This is the moment where confusion suddenly collapses into understanding. The problem that kept circling your mind for months finally reveals its answer in a single instant. The situation that once felt tangled and impossible suddenly becomes painfully obvious. The belief that kept you trapped in hesitation dissolves before your eyes because you can finally see the truth underneath it. Mercury and Uranus together do not operate through slow reasoning. They bypass analysis completely. The information arrives whole, unexpected, almost supernatural in its precision. People often describe these transits as if knowledge itself was transmitted directly into their awareness from somewhere beyond ordinary thought. You may be doing something completely mundane when it happens. Standing in the shower, driving alone, walking outside at night, lying awake in silence. And then suddenly, without warning, clarity crashes into you so intensely that your entire perspective changes within seconds. What makes this even more significant is that the insight arriving during this period is not random mental stimulation. It is directly connected to the psychic doorway that opened under the Pisces Moon on May 11th. On May 19th, Mercury forms a perfect angle with Neptune in Aries, creating a direct, energetic bridge between intellect and intuition. Neptune, the modern ruler of Pisces, reconnects your mind back to the spiritual frequency that first awakened your inner knowing earlier in the month. This means the realizations you receive are not merely intelligent, they are spiritually guided. They carry emotional truth underneath them. They arrive with the unmistakable feeling that something larger than logic is speaking through you. This is why the second dream becomes so life-changing, because it is not simply about receiving new information. It is about becoming someone who can no longer unknow what they have finally seen clearly. This is the idea that changes the trajectory of your future, the sudden understanding about your purpose that forces you to completely rethink your career path. The emotional revelation that exposes the reality of a relationship you were desperately trying to misunderstand. The creative vision that appears fully formed in your consciousness, demanding to be built into something real. Under this energy, your mind stops operating inside the limitations that once defined it. The invisible prison you have been living inside begins collapsing piece by piece. Many people spend years trapped inside inherited beliefs, fear-based thinking, outdated identities, and unconscious mental conditioning without ever realizing the cage exists. But Mercury and Uranus together expose the bars all at once. By May 22nd, when the Sun itself merges with Uranus, the transformation becomes impossible to reverse. This is no longer just about new thoughts. This is about a completely different relationship with yourself. You begin seeing your identity through new eyes. The version of yourself that once accepted limitation starts feeling unfamiliar, almost impossible to reconnect with emotionally. And once freedom enters your consciousness at that level, you cannot return to the old way of thinking, even if you tried. Something inside you permanently wakes up. But the most powerful part of this entire sequence still has not arrived yet, because everything unfolding throughout the month has been leading toward one final culmination point. Every intuitive flash, every emotional breakthrough, every sudden realization, every risk you felt called to take has been preparing you for May 31st. This is where the entire energetic story reaches its climax. On this day, the second full moon of the month rises in Sagittarius, forming a rare blue moon, and this energy carries the feeling of cosmic confirmation. Sagittarius is not a sign that deals with small thinking. Sagittarius governs truth, expansion, higher meaning, spiritual philosophy, faith, and the search for purpose beyond survival. It is ruled by Jupiter, the very same planet that initiated this chain reaction back on May 11th, when it formed friction against the North Node and forced your destiny into motion. Nothing about this sequence has been disconnected. The entire month has functioned like a single unfolding initiation. First came the psychic awakening under the Pisces Moon, then the material foundation under the Taurus new moon, then the mental liberation sparked through Mercury and Uranus. And now comes the final expansion, the moment where reality itself proves your intuition was guiding you correctly the entire time. This third dream is the manifestation that validates your inner knowing. It is the opportunity that appears and confirms the risk you were terrified to take was actually the doorway to your future. It is the success, recognition, or breakthrough that silences every moment of self-doubt that once convinced you that you were imagining things. It is the philosophical awakening that suddenly allows you to understand your purpose with a level of certainty you have never experienced before. Under this Sagittarius blue moon, the fear of being wrong begins disappearing because reality itself starts reflecting back the truth your spirit already sensed long ago. The question shifts completely. No longer are you asking whether your dreams are possible. No longer are you begging for signs that you are on the right path. Instead, a completely different realization takes hold inside you. You begin asking yourself how much expansion you are truly willing to allow into your life now that the universe has finally shown you what becomes possible when you stop shrinking your vision to fit inside fear. Sagittarius energy was never designed for a small life. It does not whisper timid dreams or encourage cautious half measures. Sagittarius looks beyond the visible horizon and asks how far the soul is truly willing to expand once fear no longer controls the answer. That is why this final manifestation carries such enormous weight, because it is not merely about receiving an opportunity or reaching a goal. It is about stepping fully into the magnitude of who you were becoming from the very moment the Pisces Moon opened the energetic gateway on May 11th. This is the point where the version of you that played safe begins disappearing completely. The hesitation that once kept your dreams small no longer fits inside your spirit. By the time the Sagittarius blue moon rises on May 31st, something inside you recognizes that shrinking yourself has become more painful than risking expansion. This is the dream where you stop asking whether your vision is too ambitious and finally begin claiming it without guilt, apology, or the need for outside permission. But before this final expansion fully arrives, there is a danger hidden inside the same sensitivity that awakened your intuition earlier in the month, and most people will never recognize the trap until it has already drained them emotionally. What almost nobody understands about heightened psychic awareness is that sensitivity, without energetic boundaries, quickly becomes chaos. From the moment the Pisces moon enters on May 11th and throughout the entire energetic build-up toward the blue moon, your emotional field becomes unusually open. You begin absorbing frequencies from the world around you far more intensely than normal. Suddenly, emotions appear inside you that seem to arrive from nowhere. Anxiety rises unexpectedly, even when nothing in your personal life feels wrong. Waves of sadness hit your chest without explanation. Crowded places become exhausting because your nervous system starts reacting to emotional information it cannot easily filter out. Under Pisces energy, empathy becomes amplified to the point where the line between your emotions and the collective emotional atmosphere begins disappearing. This is where people unintentionally sabotage themselves. Instead of slowing down and processing what they are feeling, they run from it. They bury themselves in endless scrolling because silence feels too revealing. They binge entertainment to avoid hearing the thoughts rising inside them. They overload their schedules with social obligations because being alone with their emotions suddenly feels unbearable. But escaping the energy only disconnects you from the very manifestations trying to reach you. Solitude during the Pisces moon is not punishment, it is restoration. Pulling back from noise is not rejection of the world, it is spiritual maintenance. You need space during this period because your emotional field must have time to separate what belongs to you from what you unconsciously absorbed from others. Otherwise, confusion takes over. You begin carrying emotional burdens that were never yours to begin with. And there is another danger hidden beneath this transit that requires real awareness. Pisces energy often intensifies the desire to escape reality entirely. The urge to numb emotions, blur perception, or disconnect from intensity can become incredibly seductive under this moon. But substances, emotional avoidance, and unconscious distractions create static in the exact channel through which your intuition is trying to communicate. The visions, the downloads, the realizations, and the manifestations unfolding throughout the month require presence. They require you to remain emotionally awake enough to receive them clearly. That is the paradox of the Pisces moon. You must stay open enough to feel deeply, while also remaining grounded enough not to drown inside every emotional current passing through you. Trust your intuition, yes, but also understand when your spirit needs silence, rest, and emotional distance from outside noise. So the real question becomes, how do you work with this energy instead of letting it overwhelm you? The answer begins on May 11th itself. That day is not meant for constant stimulation, loud environments, or draining social interactions. It is a day to create intentional space around yourself. Spend time alone. Sit quietly with your thoughts instead of immediately distracting yourself from them. Write down the strange insights that arrive throughout the day because they are not random fantasies. They are directional signals. Take long walks without noise in your ears. Meditate. Journal. Notice the emotions, memories, and intuitive nudges surfacing inside you because they are revealing the path unfolding next. Your intuition becomes especially accurate under this transit. but only if you stop dismissing what your spirit is trying to show you. The second step is learning to trust your body as much as your mind. During powerful energetic periods, your physical and emotional reactions become messages. If exhaustion suddenly overwhelms you, rest instead of forcing productivity. If emotion rises unexpectedly, allow yourself to feel it without immediately trying to rationalize it away. If your body resists certain environments, conversations, or obligations, listen carefully because your nervous system often recognizes energetic misalignment long before your conscious mind understands why. Third, engage intentionally with spiritual practices that help you access your intuition more directly. Tarot, meditation, pendulum work, dream interpretation, prayer, and reflective rituals all become amplified under the Pisces moon, because the energetic veil separating conscious awareness from deeper perception grows thinner. This is not the period for cynicism or emotional shutdown. This is the period for receptivity. The answers you have been searching for may arrive in ways that logic alone cannot explain. Fourth, when insights begin arriving about the 3 manifestations unfolding throughout the month, understand that manifestation requires participation. The Sun and Jupiter sextile on May 11th does not reward passivity. The universe may open the doorway, but you still have to choose to walk through it. Action becomes the bridge between intuition and reality. And finally, protect your energy consciously every single day throughout this cycle. Begin each morning with the intention of carrying only what truly belongs to you emotionally. Visualize boundaries around your energy field that allow guidance and wisdom to enter while filtering out chaos and emotional overload. Discernment becomes essential now because sensitivity without boundaries leads to emotional exhaustion. The truth is, the quiet inner voice you have been ignoring for weeks, maybe even months, is about to become impossible to silence. The Pisces moon on May 11th does not create intuition where none existed before. It amplifies the truth your soul already recognized long ago. Deep down, you have already felt that something larger has been approaching. There has been a strange pull inside you, an unexplainable awareness that your life is standing near a turning point, even if your logical mind cannot fully define it yet. That sensation is not irrational fear. It is not anxiety. It is recognition. Your spirit understands what your conscious mind is only beginning to realize. The 3 manifestations unfolding before the end of May are not random wishes thrown blindly into the universe. They are the natural consequence of your awareness expanding, your intuition sharpening, and your willingness to trust inner knowing even when external proof has not arrived yet. This month becomes the dividing line between those who continue dismissing their inner voice and those courageous enough to finally follow it. May 11th initiates the awakening. The Taurus new moon on May 16th grounds the vision into reality. The Mercury and Uranus conjunction on May 17th destroys mental limitations that once kept you trapped. And the Sagittarius blue moon on May 31st confirms the truth your soul has been moving toward the entire time. The doorway is already open. The momentum has already begun. The manifestations are already unfolding beneath the surface of your life, whether you fully see them yet or not. Now the only thing left to decide is whether you are truly ready to receive what the universe has been trying to place into your hands all along.